viscosity come from soybean and fish meal, which are the commonly protein ingredients used for fish feed production. As you can see, these protein sources are highly unsustainable. Soybean is linked with massive deforestation, and over 90% of our fish stock are fully exploited today. So we needed, for the fish farmers to grow sustainably, we need a cost-effective and better quality fish feed which is formulated by using a sustainable protein ingredient. And that's what no feed is, to upcycle the organic food waste to produce and as the perfect replacement of soybean and fish meal in fish feed production. But also we are currently, we are continuing to invest in R&D so as to improve our fish feed production metrics. So we are working on upcycling waste by using a friendly bacteria to produce a single cell protein. And we are planning to launch our product by the end of this year. So far, no feed, we have been able to produce, we have a small scale for producing the fish feed, and we have been able to service over 160 fish farmers in Tanzania, but also every month we have a capacity of producing 20 tons per month. But still we have unlimited demand of 120 tons of fish feed per month. So to close this gap, meaning we need to scale up our production facilities, we need to buy a bigger machine, we need to expand our black soldier fly farming. So we need a funding of about $250,000 in order to close this market gap. But also we need partnership with the researchers as well as the alternative protein specialists. So to reach out to NoFeed, you can visit our website directly through the link provided below, but also you can reach us direct through our email as well as the mobile contact. Thank you so much, Henrik.
Thank you so much. Let me just ask you one or two quick questions and then we'll move to the other ones. So how easy is it to access that kind of money in your local market? Is that possible at all?
So it's possible, but I think there's a lot of difficulties, especially to raise funds. Let me talk about Africa in general. To raise funds, especially when you are in Africa, I think most of the entrepreneurship ecosystem here is not so much strong, especially when you have innovation. You see, when raising funds directly from the investors, you will need to have a bigger traction, and something that most of these small companies such as NoFeed, we don't have. So I think that's one of difficult to raise directly from the investors, but from the grants, I think it's also difficulty. So as long as the company is located in Africa. Yeah.
And what second question, then I'll let you go, which is your business. Is that a business running on local currency and you're asking for money in US dollars? Is there a currency issue here that is a significant barrier for you? Or is your income also in US dollars? I mean, how do you deal with the currency issue?
Oh, okay. So
Dan, I think we can hear you so well. Diana, your connection is...
I mentioned it in US dollars because I think it's more of an international Tanzanian currency. So that's why I prefer.
Okay, Diana, listen, your connection is pretty poor. Yeah, your connection is pretty poor. Could you do me a favor? Just answer me in the chat so we move on to the next presentation. But I think we'd love to get your answer on the currency issue. Then we move on. Thank you so much, Diana, for this. Then we move on to Nick from One Day Health. Are you there, Nick?
Yeah, hello everybody. Good afternoon from Northern Uganda. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you.
Excellent. So let me fire away. So yeah.
The floor is yours.
Awesome. First, just want to say thanks, Henrik. One Day Health formed at the first Unleash in 2017, and the last time I saw this guy, Henrik, was there in 2017. I have to say you look a little bit older, I'll be honest. But anyway. So we're One Day Health, and we solve the problem of healthcare black holes. So in Uganda, 10 million people live in these healthcare black holes. They have no good option for healthcare within 5 kilometers of their home. And when they get sick, they either wait and hope they get better, or they spend a lot of money to reach some distant health facility. And we launch basic nurse-led health centers in these healthcare black holes to solve this problem and give people a good healthcare option. So how we do it is we identify healthcare black holes through geomapping. Then we prepare the health center for launch. We train the nurse. We buy the equipment or the tests we need, and we launch each health center for a total cost of only $4,000 US. And then we empower the nurse to treat over 95% of the local disease burden for under $2 a patient. And you talk about currencies. We run these health centers on about $300 US a month total cost, which is coming in from the community. And we operate a hybrid model. So the money that launches them is from grants, and then the facility is completely sustained by money, a small amount of money that comes in from the community. So we've come a long way. We've launched 23 one-day health centers now. We've treated about 80,000 patients. And this year we're trying to raise $170,000 to launch another 20 one-day health centers and move closer to that dream we have, that every Ugandan will have access to quality healthcare. So I don't know if you want me to answer the questions, or if you want to ask me them, Henrik, or if I should just carry on.
Yeah, no, I would love to talk a bit about the financing specifically again on behalf of the whole group here. So in terms of liquidity, how do you deal with that? Can you go in the local bank and get a credit line, or how does that work in your situation?
Yeah, so luckily we just get money up front. We don't do liquidity at the moment, if that makes sense. So we get the money and then we use it. Fortunately, like we said, once we've launched the health center, then the money that comes in is enough to sustain it. So once we get that upfront money, we're okay. In terms of amounts of money, we generate money from generous individuals and from small foundations at the moment. We're actually a moderate size operation, but still up until now, the biggest individual grant we've got from any foundation is $30,000 US. So we're still in that kind of small to medium territory. Interestingly, individuals have actually been more important for us than foundations because, it's a really nice story. We're treating these people in healthcare black holes. We were recently lucky enough, someone gave us a Bitcoin just about a month ago, which was incredible. Some, well-wisher, which is worth about $50,000 US. So at the moment, the individuals are outpacing those big foundations. I'm very fortunate in that I'm a white person in Uganda. So I have more connections to those kind of individuals. And I realize that privilege is very much there. And that's what allowed us to reach this point. But I think that can only carry us so far. And we are going to need access to bigger foundations in the near future to really grow from 23 one-day health centers to 100. Yeah.
Wonderful. I have a last question for you, Nick, which is access to finance a top 3 challenge of yours, point 1? And what would, a much easier access to financing mean for you? Let's say 10 times as much you have. What will it matter to you?
Yeah. So for me, as you know, with many, I'm sure many of you can identify, there's often 1 or 2 of us who are running these things. And so any time we are pouring into financing is time we're not growing our enterprise. And so honestly, if I had 10 times as much money, then I could say, look, for the next 3 years, we're going to launch 60 and we're going to expand to 2 other countries. We could just. So at the moment, money is partly what's holding us back. But on the other hand, we've worked it out to date. It's just as things scale up, getting from original 423, we've managed, but getting from 2300, we're going to need something a lot bigger. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was very, very useful, Nick. Thank you. Let's run to Nishan Agarwal, who is founder of Life and Limb and sitting in India. Thank you,
Henrik. Thank you so much. I'll turn off my camera to get the better audio. And let me share my screen. Awesome. So good evening, good morning all from wherever you are joining. Welcome to Life and Limb. We are making upper limb prosthesis with adaptive grass having water resistance, smart and a retrofit design. We are a stage of prototype, and that is where I want to come directly to the problem statement. We are making a anatomically similar system, which is a true bionic hand making wrist prehensions or thumb prehensions, which is not being achieved by many. And that is where it is not adaptable. The numbers are increasing, but affordability remains a challenge in India. And it is too expensive, as reported by 47% of the translatal amputees or below the elbow amputees in India. And it ranges up to 25,000 US dollars. So coming to another problem, it's the number. The problem of translatal amputation is reported by 1.4 million people in developing countries, including India. And out of that, 0.3 million are there in India. And also the conventional prosthetic hands of label, they introduces body fatigue and they have open close, like a split hook function. So let me come directly to the solution that we are providing. On the left, you can see the prototype was able to mimic the hand in grasping a bottle. And on the right, you can see the volunteer, our first volunteer who volunteered for the muscle actuation. On this video, you can see we are able to achieve prehension motions of the thumb, including the fingers, using myosensors or muscle sensors. More of that later, but we started with a very basic version of a 4-bar mechanism or mechanical linkages in 2016. And from then onwards, we are working on the prototype development. We are including different modalities, including compliant joints, and to make it more robust for the developing nation. And we are also providing user preferences, including the color as well as the features of the hand. So we'll be having the basic versions and the premium versions, depending on the customers or the patients that we are dealing with. Again, the market is hugely crowded, but a few only are focusing on design methods and new modalities like 3D printing and having the hands compliant. But we are focusing on a few, which is there in terms of design parameters or having the enhanced design. So in terms of impact, we are targeting 30% of the reported cases in India through local PNO clinics and rehabilitation centers. We have received an expression of interest for the pilot study as well. Coming to the roadmap, we are a team of 11 members in a clinical R&D facility at one of the premium institutes in India, incubated at IIT Kanpur, and we are making the pilot units for the clinical validation. We have received 15,000 US dollars as the prototype grant in 2 batches, and we are seeking a grant of 85,000 to have the product market fit and sustain the team. So 11-member team is quite huge, and no one wants to work for free in a socially relevant startup like ours. We are a for-profit organization and recently received a CSR funding from a company called Portiscap, which is shown here, and that is how we are staged out. Our value proposition is in providing high quality and cost-effective prosthetic limbs with the amortization and affordability. Thank you so much. Let's make it happen. I'll be open to questions now.
Thank you so much. I will take the prerogative again and ask for 1 or 2 questions. So the first question I have is, in terms of the India, you can say, social enterprise market, it's been more mature than the rest or many other places in the world. How does an exit strategy look like for a social impact investor investing in an organization like yours?
So we have a very strong startup culture in India, and a lot of incubation centers are being set up. So the first funding that we got is from Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, for development of the prototype. And since then we are growing. So in about 8 months, we have raised around 87,000 US dollars.
But how's the exit? So let's say I want to, or somebody want to invest, 200,000 in your enterprise. How do I exit in 5 years from now? Who do I exit to?
So our plan is to have collaborations with the rehabilitation centers in India. So we have identified 250 plus clinics and hospitals in India who are providing prosthetic devices to the country. So if we have the partnership with them and a sustainable model, then the investment would be returned in 5 years or so, as you were mentioning.
So the idea is that if people are investing into social enterprise in India, they can be paid out by future growth, or how? I'm just
yes.
Because I think that's an important question for many social investors, is how do you get back? Or
yeah, so on that note, we will be having premium models as well, where the margins would be high. So I guess from that, we have to define the business model in such a way that investors will get their money back from the premium models.
Okay, and then the second question I have before we go back to the presentation, which is the whole idea here is to think scale, and if there's any place we can think scale is in India. So if you're sitting together with the government, you're sitting with some international donors and local finance institutions, and you're looking upon your industry you're in and saying, well, we need both money for research and development, and we actually also need money to help people purchasing, you know, this equipment. What is your request? What is that solution you would say if you had to serve hundreds of thousands of social enterprise in India? This is what we need in terms of moving on the barriers related to finance.
So more than the finance, we need partnership. So if, for example, we are making customized prosthetic hand in India, and reaching out to people is a very big task. We are into business to business or business to government, and we cannot reach out to individual patients. So we are targeting that we partner with government as well as private rehabilitation centers, and that is how we want to scale up.
Thank you so much, Nissan, and thank you so much, Diana and Nick, for being on this call. And if anybody want to get in touch with you, I hope your details will be in the chat, and I welcome it. It's been a pleasure working with all three of you. So thank you so much for being here and helping us out. All right, let's go to the next segment. Wonderful. So very briefly, I have also touched a bit upon this, which is that it is very hard to see a lot of unicorns coming out of the social enterprise movements. Most entities will be local and they will have a small size, which means we need to think much more in distributed system like microfinance than centralized systems. We also know that if we want to have success in this space, we need to think about some of the most difficult, harsh environments. So finding solutions that works in Geneva and Copenhagen, New York won't make it many other places in the world. So we need to start from, you could say, the worst case and then build our way out if we want to have scalable solutions. And lastly, in terms of scale, I mean, we're not talking about 1,000, we're not talking about 10,000, we're talking about 100,000 plus enterprise if you want to think really systemic here. Now, so what is it we could do to be helpful? I think, you know, just capital in itself is not enough. We need to think about technical assistance. We need to think about operation platforms. We need to think of regulation, legal support. Often we are seeing informal markets being bigger than formal markets, etc. So there's a lot to be done in addition to providing capital. And as I mentioned before, often capital is equally important for just running operations as it is for expansion for many of these things. In terms of next page, in terms of what could be potential solutions here. So if we look upon three elements, one is identification. So how do we actually identify the social enterprise that are worth investing in or supporting? I mean, two ideas could be trusted referrals, which means that we work through networks of networks, which is something that has happened a lot in this sector. Another opportunity or way of doing it is it's a tiered approach where, you know, you give small grants or small investments into startups, and then you follow them and say, okay, if you did deliver on the first $500 or $1,000 we gave you, you probably also deliver on the 10,000. If you deliver on 10,000, you probably also deliver on the 50,000, and then you build up a track record over time. So that's a way, at least, of having cost-effective ways of finding those social enterprises that are ready for investments or financial support. In terms of financial, just go back. In terms of financial support, one could think a bit about more than just an economic metric. So often, you know, it is about you getting so much money in and we expect this kind of return or no return. You just pay back what you got. But I think when we're dealing with the social enterprise sector, we need to think impact in much more. So are there ways we should start saying, well, if you achieve the following milestones, we have a collaboration with a foundation, you get some kind of kicker at that point in time. Is the way where we can say, if you get financial support, you will commit to open source. So if you think about scaling, yes, you can scale through Citibank, but you can also scale through Grameen Bank by opening up, you know, your IP. is that a way of thinking scale? There can also be something about maturity models saying, well, we are supporting you, but there has to be an end date where you are integrated into the local bank and finance environment, which was a bit what I was fishing for before. And then there's something about a network support. So are there ways in which we can create some technology platforms that enables these organizations to be more efficient, more transparent? Are there ways in which we can create peer support structures, again, to de-risk investments and financial support, etc. So there's a lot of things we need to think about, you know, if we want to go industrial scale in this space. Okay, the next page. So before we go to the survey, just a couple of pointers. So one is around the enterprise and program lifecycle. So there are clear differences, as you all guys know, between, you know, financing an idea and startup and growth and expansion and exit. So you know, there are different types of financial requirements and risk appetites in these things. We just need to think that into, you can say, our wholesale model here. The next one is in terms of financing and instruments, that we actually have here a whole slew from the financial sector we can apply to social enterprises, going from grants over concession loans, commercial loans, convertible notes, equity, etc. So there's a lot of things we can be creative about if we want to think systemic scale. And then, as I mentioned before, there's return both on finance but also on impact, which is quite attractive in this sector. And then lastly, Zach, thank you so much. Are there ways in which we can build into the system de-risking factors, etc.? So, you know, taking collective responsibility, as we've seen in microfinance. Are there ways we can use what we see in fintech to have more efficiency and transparency? Are there ways we can create pooled resource of investors that, you know, are sharing the risk and also the due diligence? Are there ways governments come in and do certain guarantees, etc., etc.? So there are things where, if we want to come up with big bold ideas, I think we need to think about all the experiences that we can rein in from other sectors that have been successful. Okay, let's go quickly to the survey, and then we'll go out to the group where the real work happens. So Zach, you're in charge of the survey.
Yep. So I've just launched the poll. So I guess we can kind of take 2 minutes to look through the poll, give our answers, and then we'll share the responses at the end of it.
So how does it work? You need to tell us how it works.
So you should see some questions come up on your screen right now. Yeah, so just fill in your answers. Some are multiple choice, some are like just singular answer. Yeah, so just fill it in. Like there's 5 questions. If you scroll to the bottom, you should be able to submit the answers.
So how do I put it in? I'm just stupid here, but I need to understand. How do I put in my I see the results of it. I don't. Okay, perfect.
Oh, I think for Henrik, you're the host. So yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
perfect.
but the participants are seeing the questions.
Okay, good.
Henrik, you are the host. That's why you only see the results.
Yeah.
That's good.
So all
That's
the
good.
hosts will only see the results.
Good. I'm learning. Thank you.
Young Africa Works.
The survey must be done.
We have about nearing half of the people in the room answering.
Okay.
Do we want to move to the next stage? All right, so I'll just share the results of what we have so far. So yeah, if you look at the screen now, you can see what the results were. So mainly social entrepreneurs in the room, a few experts and some others. Most people kind of agreed that the stage where it's most difficult to access capital was angel or early seed. And the main source of financial resources for social entrepreneurs were from family and friends, followed by local foundations and international foundations. The kind of capital that social entrepreneurs would like to see more of within this room was in the form of grants. And as a funder, the thing that makes it the most difficult to finance or invest in social entrepreneurs is actually other, followed by impact and return profile, not combined, not interesting. Yeah. So thanks everyone for sharing your answers.
Good. All right, good. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll document this, so please fill it out if you haven't done it yet, and then we'll send it out as a part of the summary. Now we go to the work groups, and my experience with work groups is that often we lose some people just after the work groups. So I really ask you guys to stay, because this is probably the most interesting part, and where we can move the needle as a collective together, and where we can take some conclusions and drive them afterwards. So what we'll do is we'll divide you up in a couple of groups, and there will be 4 questions. The first one is, so what is that wish and needs list of a social entrepreneur living in frontier locations? And here I really would ask people with lived experience to tell what they need. And then next, it's really about finding a sustainable equilibrium. So how long time should a social enterprise be based on grants or concession loans, etc.? I mean, is that a condition that, you know, for the whole lifetime, or what is the maturity model, so we get to a place where they can be more or less self-financed? So that's the next part. The third is partners. What type of partners do we need if we want to build up a new revolution, a bit like microfinance, but now for social enterprise? Who are the ones out there that we should try to start partnering with? And then lastly, if anybody have ideas to a pilot, what could a pilot be? What could a minimal viable solution be? We would love to hear that. And if each group could immediately find a facilitator that manage time, and we will give it around 10 minutes for the group, and also a person that can take notes and report back to the group and spend 2 minutes or so reporting back. That would be excellent. So this is a way we hope to move the conversation forward. Just the last point before we go to the group, which is the group that we're putting forward will obviously be you, but there's also a number of donors involved in Catalyst 2030, and we'll present the findings to them as well. So we'll definitely also look at the supply side afterwards, but it's so important that we fully understand the demand side first. Okay, so this is your chance to shape the environment for the future. Zach, will you make us all disappear into groups?
Yep, sure. So I've put the questions in the chat, so you can still refer to it even when you're in the breakout rooms. And I'll be putting about 9 to 10 participants in a room. Unfortunately, it will be randomized just in the interest of time. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Question and one other question, then we unfortunately going to be out of time already. But so one is about a practical question about could you support social entrepreneurs in Lebanon, or do you simply?
Yep. So for those who are still
Zach,
here, yep.
Remove the slide so people can go to their different groups. Is it now only you and me remaining?
No, there's a few participants here.
You will have to physically move them. I can't see.
Okay, I will put them in. Okay, wait. I don't think I can put them into breakout rooms right now. Yeah, so for the participants that are here, yeah, I can't like force them into a breakout room. I can only
you can
them. Okay,
you can physically move them to a breakout room.
Let me try.
Abdullah, are you on? Mary, please go to your breakout rooms.
Hi, Julie. I'll assign you to a breakout room right now. So participants are discussing, let me just put it in the chat for you to reference. Essentially right now we're in breakout rooms and we are discussing a few questions. I'll put it in the chat for you to reference and I will put you in with...
I'm waiting for a finance at 4 o'clock. I'm early.
Oh, okay. This is the sorry, like the finance revolution?
Yeah, one moment and I'll tell you what it is. It's called A Finance Revolution for Social Enterprises.
Oh yeah, it's this session. Yeah.
Just put Julie in a breakout room.
Yep.
It says it doesn't start until 4 o'clock, so I'm confused.
It's 4:45 now, right?
It's 4:45.
Yes. I'm wrong.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'll put you in the breakout room. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No worries. For the remaining people, I don't seem to be able to put them in a... Like I can request them to enter a breakout room, but I can't physically put them there. Yep, so I guess we'll wait for...
Okay, Zach, do we have everybody back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them. Yep, everyone's back.
That sounds wonderful. I'm sure you all had the same feeling that I had, which was this was far too little time. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you have only 1 hour and a lot of exciting ideas and issues to discuss. So what I do promise is that we will find a way following up on this where we can get much more in depth on it. But let's just do a quick round to the different group presenters and hear like 1 or 2 or 3 takeaways from your group. What was needed, and are there any ideas out there you felt were compelling? So group number 1, I'm not sure who the presenter is, but please speak up. Zach, do you know who it is? The group from number 1?
Not sure.
Okay, so we just then, if people don't know which group they're part of, let's make sure that anybody who's a presenter, talk.
Yes, I can talk for group number 1. Super. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so we have friends mainly from Africa and one person from India, and the ideas we shared were mainly about the first 2 topics. And in relation to the first topic, in relation to the needs, people share ideas around the patient capital, teams being good quality, technical assistance, very important, to have mentors to how to design services, the importance of having a broader community, and also how to manage this broader community. Also, we talk about, the shortfall of big capital to start. So the equity-based models is not enough. So people were suggesting more like a rotative capital model, thinking more in a longer term, like 5 years, so we can move beyond the demands for returning the money, for the approach of loans. Also from Tanzania, we share ideas, the difficulty to access the capital, and the need to move to shift the minds into more solving problems beyond the money. And from Kenya, friends from Kenya share the importance of all the partners to share the vision, so otherwise we're dragging behind in the project. So in terms of the second point, in terms of the sustainability, we discuss about this idea of the rotated capital model or system with a time span of around 5 years. So in the lines of having more blended financial catalyst models. And the last point that came up, it was in relation to the 4 point, the pilot, it was the importance of being agile and to be time bound, and we're sharing the experience that usually takes around 6 months. That was on our behalf.
That's super. And I love the last part about being agile. I love that. So let's try to see what we can do on that. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Can we get the next presenter?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm group 2. So we didn't finish all the millions of questions because we're having too good a chat. I'm sorry. But the obvious is money, which everybody sort of blurted out immediately in terms of what people need, which you've already discussed. But also support in terms of strategy for growth, strategy, a lot of internal capacity building needed. And also just a community, and how important it is for social entrepreneurs in terms of creating longevity, to have that supportive community and other social entrepreneurs to be bouncing things off of and learning from. And then we had a great conversation about the need to redefine success for social entrepreneurs, that, this idea that we need to shift away from my thing with my big brand and my logo that's been adopted, because ultimately success should be redefined not to be that, but rather how many people have adopted my ideas, how am I shifting the paradigm and the thinking within my entire space. And then the obvious thing, which is, I'll just give a shout out to Working Group 5 at Catalyst, that this is some of this funder incentives to rethinking those, how can we reshape the funding paradigm to be supporting that kind of shift to more collaboration, and how can we support funders to support us in that direction.
Thank you so much, Karen. Wonderful. Group number 3.
Yeah, I think I was group number 3.
Yes.
Somebody tell me if I wasn't. So we only really managed to touch on the first question, the needs and wants. So one of the ones that was specified was partnerships. It is not all just about money. It's, who are the organizations that are going to be able to help you distribute, help you get the things, that you need, and bring in expertise that you may not have. Secondly, we discussed investing with runway. Understanding that there is a need to invest in small tranches, but also to kind of really look at a social enterprise and think, what's the actual runway, the 3 years, the 5 years that they're really going to need in order to potentially have a chance for success, and trying to invest more with runway in mind. And then lastly, we discussed, man, wouldn't it be great to have a little bit more guidance from people that actually have been part of hybrid deals, people that have structured these type of situations. And, there's really not that many that are out there. And many of us actually are just trying to make stuff up because there isn't the right level of experience and guidance, in that particular area. And then we certainly ran out of time.
Thanks so much, Gautam. Do we have a group number 4?
I think that was us, so I'm happy to go ahead.
Yep.
So we went into questions 1 and 3 mainly. So looking at the first ones in terms of wishes and needs, some of that was just having more access to impact investors who actually understand the value of reducing cost for society and even for the planet. And the fact that most angel investors seem to mainly want the financial return quite quickly. And even if people and social enterprises are able to raise some seed funding, they often struggle after the second or third year because the investors request the return on investment after that, and it's just not possible to do it in that time. It seems that in the US, Claudia was mentioning that there's social entrepreneurship is sometimes confused with charity, and so there also needs to be some strategy thinking of how to communicate this better and ensuring that it attracts the right funding, and that generally angel investors, Alex was mentioning in Canada, just want to focus on the financial return, and they're just not educated in the way which allows them to understand this. Then looking at some of the partner types that could be interesting for this. Nick was sharing about the importance of kind of leveraging big government aid organizations that generally don't have mechanisms to directly access the funding that they have. They would often go through third-party organizations to distribute the funding. So ways to actually tap into that more directly. And then Ricardo mentioned a great point around accessing pension funds and leveraging even the idea of working with pension funds earlier when people are considering retirement, and ways that they could tap into these pension funds to not only get their retirement, but also see their future in a good way. So that's the things we managed to cover in the 10 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Is that, Zach, was that the last group or is there one more group? That's the last one, right?
It was only 4. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we're 1 minute past the hour, but I'll take the 1 minute, if that's okay with you, to just try to summarize. It's obviously very hard to do that on the fly. So what we'll do is we'll summarize a bit better than I'm doing. But what I'm seeing is, what I just quickly heard was 4 categories. So one was around the type of finance that we need. One, we need to think much more long-term finance. So we have a long runway. We need to have new metric in terms of what is success. So when investors are coming in, they are rewarding mainly more impact and less quick economic returns. 2, I heard a story around a community, that there are few people that have done this before. There's a need for peers to help each other out. So finding a way in which these social entrepreneurs can learn from each other early on, so we avoid making things up on the fly, and we can learn from each other's lived experience. 3, I heard something about partners and experts, that we need to find a way of categorizing these things, have matrix around it, so we can have people basically moving knowledge around and understand what's going on here, so we have transparency around it. And then 4thly, I heard something about how we open up this ecosystem to the players that have the biggest money, so pension funds, bigger asset managers. So there's a way of flowing money into the space at a completely other scale we have today. What was a bit interesting when we looked at our little survey, a lot of people asked for grants, which we won't get from pension funds, but clearly there is something about blended finance, where maybe it starts with grant and slowly move over and become, low interest, high impact financial contribution that is funding the sector. But work needs to be done here in terms of how we make those two worlds connecting. That was the 4 quick things I got from the group work. I know the discussion was much more rich, but I really want to thank you guys for all your contributions. In terms of next steps, 1, we will send a summary out and invite you guys for comments, and then there will be a path. And the last takeaway I got from the whole thing was, we would like to see a pilot. We would like to see some action, and it should go very fast. 2030 is close, and the issues we're dealing with are very, very tough, many places, and particularly in India right now with COVID. There's an urgency for us to move the sector forward very, very fast. So thank you so much for taking your time and staying on board for a long time. And thanks so much for Catalyst 2030 for hosting us. I hope you enjoyed the session. I did for sure. And thank you so much, Zach, for being my co-host. Bye.
Thank you, Henrik, for a wonderful session. Thank you very much for putting
You're welcome.
this
Thank you so
together.
much, Jiro, for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all.
Bye, everyone.
Henrik, can you stay back for a minute?
Sure.
So,
Now I'm getting the beatings.
thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.